What's up, everyone? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We're going to get through this Raytheon anti-racist training, which is ironic due to the fact that, well, they make things that kill people. And that's a beautiful thing. But these people that make these weapons of war, they need anti-racist training. It's important. I remember that meme being passed around last year of, the bomb that had a Black Lives Matter flag and the black fist and then like a gay pride flag and I think trans rights stuff. And then they were like, well, at least they're not homophobic as they kill someone. Just thank God for that. But that's where we're at in today's culture. But this is from July 2020, so you can only imagine how fantastic it's gotten today. But look how it starts out. It starts out with a little picture of a black guy and a white guy doing a little fist bump. A little fist bump. We're going to do a little fist bump. Hey, guys, I know you guys aren't friends, but can you get close and we're going to take a little picture? Do something natural. Maybe a little fist bump or something. Oh, perfect. That felt natural. I love that. God. I almost feel sorry for this black guy. It's like, why am I doing this? This is so token. And this white guy's like, my friends are going to know that I'm an anti-racist because I'm in this photo. I'm fist bumping a black gentleman. Amazing. It starts off with an IbramX Kendi quote, which is one of the more milquetoasty quotes, because that's what they do in CRT is they like to establish a base, establish a foundation of, do you just agree with this? And you're like, yeah, I totally agree. Do you agree that, America, slavery was a bad thing? Yes. Do you agree that, maybe the Jim Crow laws were really bad and did a lot of negative things for the black community? Uh-huh. Well, we want to destroy capitalism, and we needed to destroy their oppressors. You're like, whoa. What's going on here? But that's what we're going to teach 5-year-old children, because they can handle that kind of stuff. Starts out with this quote. To be an anti-racist is to think nothing is behaviorally wrong or right, which is an interesting statement. Nothing is behaviorally wrong or right, inferior or superior. Yeah. Showing up to work on time, showing up to work late, doing overtime. These aren't inferior or superior things with any of the racial groups. That's right. If I see somebody doing something negative, slapping their wife, whatever, I want to ask first, is this part of your culture? Is this, I don't want to be seen as racist, okay? I don't want to just assume this is a negative behavior because my culture sees it as negative. Will you please stop slapping her? I'm trying to talk to you. Let's continue the quote. Whenever the anti-racist sees individuals being positively or negatively, the anti-racist sees exactly that. Individuals behaving positively or negatively, that's what's called not being a racist. You don't assume something of someone based on their skin color, unlike, this entire article or this training, you're assuming that white people assume this stuff. So we got to make a training about it. We got to uproot some of this white culture that you guys have. We're going to make millions off you idiots. But it continues down. And one is to be proactive, that you have to actually fight against it. Number 2, I really like contribute. Financially and verbally support pro-POC movements and POC-owned businesses. Like Black Lives Matter. You need to support them financially or verbally. Put that freaking black box on your social media, dadgummit. That supports them. I know they're against tearing down the nuclear family, and yeah, they have a lot of Marxism in there, but you gotta look past that. It's about supporting POCs, and that's all it is. All right. Because if you don't, you're not an anti-racist, and that's a problem. Financially and verbally support POC movements and POC-owned businesses, which is so funny. There's like this push right now on Yelp, Google, of putting black-owned businesses like on the top of searches on businesses, and they have like a little stamp that says black-owned business, and I'm just like, if I was black and I had a business, I would just be so pissed at that stuff. Like, I want my business to be represented and to do well because I have a great product, I have great service, I have great coworkers, I have a great atmosphere, whatever you want to say. I want that to shine. I don't want it to be like, well, he's a white guy and we got to support white-owned businesses. We got to support those. I know he's trash. I know the product sucks, but you got to put them in front. And that they've been unfairly treated. And again, I'm a white guy. I don't go to a business and go, who's in charge of this establishment? Because I love it. Oh, it's a black guy? God, I got to get out of here. I don't know what goes on in the mind of these people that make this crap, but it's unreal. It kind of tells you what a rich white liberal thinks, though. Don't say that. But it goes on to listening to people who are been marginalized, reach out, speak up. Yeah, that's called just not being a racist. It goes to hand out projects mindfully to people who don't deserve it. Respond quickly to ideas of theft, especially with black-owned stuff. I like this. When you see instances of majority group members talking about giving credit to ideas of people of color that are originally offered. I've been in businesses where people have stolen my ideas. It's called being a new person or just not, you're not a manager. And there's douches a lot in these companies that will do anything to stay in power, to do anything. And you can just say, hey, that was my idea. And then make a joke about it. And then people will all know that person. Usually it happens if someone's in a company and they steal ideas or they like present ideas constantly that aren't theirs. And then that word gets out quick. And people will start seeing it. Because if you have good ideas, I think most people that are good at ideas, like myself, I don't want to toot my own horn, but people with good ideas constantly have good ideas. So, but at the same time, I agree. If someone has a good idea, I don't care what color their skin is, I'm going to give them credit. And that's the most stupid thing. But there are jerks in this world. I think people don't realize that there are jerks in the world. There are assholes. There are people that will do horrible things in order to get in power. It has nothing to do with them being racist. They just will stomp on whoever's weaker. Seek opinions from those who don't speak up. Learn what to say, what not to say, blah, blah, blah. But this is when we get to the fun. What not to say to your black colleagues right now. This is the most like tokenism. You're not allowed to say this to your black colleagues right now. I'm scared to say the wrong thing to you. And this is what they say. This asks your black colleagues to either console you or help you figure out what to say, which isn't fair. Why would a white guy walk up to a black guy and say, I'm scared to say the wrong thing to you? I don't know, because maybe you'll get canceled or fired from your job. And then maybe your whole family will have hate mail. People will show up at your house. People will make videos about you, putting you on the internet everywhere. I don't know why a white person would think that way. This is what happens. You guys created this culture. You created a culture of people being scared to have conversations with each other because you censored them and labeled them as misinformation. And you called people racist that clearly weren't racist. And you call incidents that are racial incidents aren't even racially motivated. So why would a white guy be scared to say, I'm scared to say the wrong thing to you? I'm scared to make this joke. I'm scared to say this. Why are you allowed to say this? I'm not allowed to say all these things. You're not allowed to say this anymore. What you should say is saying, I'm having conversation about racism with my non-black family and friends, even though I'm afraid. This shows black colleagues that you're being courageous enough to take a stand. This is a statement. I'm having conversations about racism with my non-black family, aka I'm telling my non-black friends and family members what I learned in this training, and you guys need to be on board. And if you're not an anti-racist, well, you're a problem. I was like that TikTok video I put on my news the other day of this Democrat saying, well, I can't be friends with Republicans anymore. I'm just not going to do it because she won't listen to me. AKA, she won't agree with everything I'm saying. And so if you don't agree with what I'm saying, you're a racist and you're different. And I want to never talk to you again because you're misinformation. Another one. I hope/pray things can change soon. You're not allowed to say that. This shows that you mean well, but meaning well isn't enough. This is the time to do well. I don't really say that anyways. I'm not racist. You can't argue this stuff because if you argue it, you'll just get put in a box. What to say is, though, you're supposed to say this: I'm taking these steps to become a better ally. And that's what it is. Shut up, sit down, raise your fist, and become an ally. And an ally doesn't ask questions, just listens. So shut up and listen. You have to continue saying, I'm shutting down racist comments on my team. What team is like, Frank is a huge racist, and I love what he has to say, and I'm for it. I know we're a diverse company, but you guys need to just get used to it. Because we white guys are in charge here. It's like something out of a movie. You're supposed to say, I'm supporting the fight against racism by calling my representatives backing black businesses and or XYZ. This shows that you're paying more than lip service to anti-racist movement. God. You must pay in order to play, to be taken more seriously. All right. You're not allowed to say this. I can't wait for these things to calm down and get back to normal. This says you're comfortable and more important than the message of anti-racism. That's right. Anti-racist training is just about making white people feel uncomfortable. That's all it is. Okay, it's not Marxism. It's not indoctrinationism. It's not actually making you racist or making other people look at you in a racist light. It's about your comfort levels. And I know when you're feeling uncomfortable by me saying this, it's because you're a racist. Okay? It's not because what I'm saying is insanity or untrue or I'm accusing you of something you're not. It's that you're not racist. You have to say, I realize my discomfort is a fraction of what you're feeling. Shut up. Just shut up. Acknowledging that while you might feel unsettled right now, Ideshola says black people are exhausted, mentally drained, frustrated. I don't blame them because the media has been lying to you like this person has been lying to you all the time. If I was black right now and I believe this crap, I would be exhausted too because I was told that I'm a victim and there's nothing I can do about it. So in what way does that help people? No. It creates class system. It creates oppressed and the oppressor, not based on merit or anything else. It's based on your color of skin. It says black people are exhausted, mentally drained, frustrated, stressed, barely sleeping, scared, and overwhelmed. Why? There's no white people aren't hunting black people. This is so feelings which demand empathy and action. I have empathy completely to these people, but my empathy towards them is that they're living in a delusional mindset of something that is not based on reality. If they come to me and they actually experience these things in a workplace, then I will listen and I will have full empathy for them and I will say that is a horrible business and to be shut down and all this stuff. But I don't see this stuff on a day-to-day basis, and these people act like it's happening all the time. Let's keep going. How to build belonging. Recognize accomplishment, encourage free expression, except for if you're white. You're not allowed to encourage free expression. Value everyone's contributions, help others feel comfortable at work, communicate transparently. Duh. Have you heard of the term intersectionality? Basically, I love how like people define something like basically, we're going to give you the cookie cutter version. Basically, it's a way in which different forms of discrimination overlap. For instance, a black person who is also a member of the LGBTQ community or a Chinese American who is disabled face different gender discrimination than someone who carries one marginalized identity. Oh, God. Pro-inclusion tip. Someone's race or ethnicity isn't a taboo topic. Talk openly about it to appeal to people's conscious values and challenge their unconscious biases. But only white people do that, okay? You cannot address racial injustice in the workplace if you do not acknowledge that different experiences exist for people. Who doesn't acknowledge that? That's so dumb. Even white people have different experiences than me. But be aware that if you're going to talk... which is funny because then if they say that, then that means black people have different experiences. So maybe there are black people out there that have never experienced racism. You can't say that, though. You cannot address racial injustice in the workplace if you do not acknowledge the difference between experiences exist for people. But be aware that if you're going to talk about race, identify everyone's race, including those who are white. By identifying someone as black or Latin and not categorizing someone else as white, you're saying that white is the norm in which all races are measured. Okay, God, this is like the stupidest thing. And this is like establish equity. And this is a huge problem I have too. It's not about equality. It's not about just, treating people equally. You have to treat people different based on what they look like or what's going on. That's so racist. That's just racism. And you're assuming something. You're looking at me. You're saying, oh, that's a white male. And so you assume, like, probably private school? Nope. Probably parents are still together? Nope. The list goes on. Of assumptions based on my skin color and because I'm a male. That's called racism. You're assuming something based on their okay. Equality is a noble goal, says this thing. Equal treatment and access to opportunities to help each other perform are best within a shared set of parameters. But we really need to start striving for equity, where we focus on quality of outcome, not quality of the experience, by taking individual needs and skills into account. Which, who doesn't do that? But also, if you suck at your job, you're going to be fired. Don't say that. He's come from a harder background, so he should be able to just keep him on the register for Chick-fil-A. I know we're making chickens back here, but he needs to just let him go. Let him go. Don't critique him. He's working through stuff. I mean, this is so dumb. This kind of stuff just makes me want to have my own business. Because if I was in this meeting, I would be like plucking my eyebrows out. But this is what, they started out by getting as all this stuff starts out, you start to agree. You're like, yeah, okay. And now we're going to talk about equity. And now we're going to talk about this, of things white people can't say, but black people can, and all that stuff. A challenge. So what can you do about racism? Be a change agent by calling out microaggressions and other racist behavior when you witness them. How about just call it racist behavior? Microaggressions are hard to understand sometimes because maybe you don't know everything about everyone's culture. I'm just thinking like this ploy. You go up on the street, you're walking down the street, you meet somebody for the first time in your life, you're having a great conversation, you notice they have an accent. You say, where are you from? Because it's a nice way of asking. They would say, oh my God, is that a microaggression? You ask that person where they're from? Is it because they're a different race than you? Maybe. Also because they're just a different person, and I've never heard that accent in this area. And it's exciting to meet you, and we're having a great conversation. And this is me reaching out to you to get to know you. Imagine that. Imagine that is seen as racism in today's culture. It's insanity. That's literally the definition of insanity. If you have a different accent than me, if somebody comes up to me and asks me if I'm in Germany, somebody says, wow, that's an interesting accent. Or if I'm in South Korea, and somebody says, that's an interesting accent. Where are you from? And I say, I'm from here. And I wouldn't go, are you asking me that because I'm white? Huh? That's a microaggression. How do you think it feels when I walk around this country and people are like, where are you from? You piece of crap. Or maybe we're just having a good conversation. They're like, I notice you have an accent. Where are you from? You're not allowed to say these things. That's what did it say at the top? I'm scared to say the wrong things to you. You're not allowed to say that anymore. Number 2, speak up to leadership about discriminatory policies and hiring practices. I was reading the HR manual, and it says, like, hire people based on their experience. And then number 2, it says, don't hire black people. I have a problem with that. What discriminatory practices, policies? What are we talking about here? Number 3, pass the mic to those who are excluded in silence, redirecting the conversation using their names so that their voices can be heard. Are we 5 years old? Is this what we want? We want our companies to be all like kindergarten. Don't hurt Frank's feelings. Give him the mic and let him speak. He needs to speak. Okay? I know he has nothing to do with this project, but he walked into this office building, and I think he's lost. But we need to give him the mic. In your workplace, you can be the person who takes action to ensure everyone feels that like they belong. A goal for every single individual at Raytheon Technologies. Never fire anyone. Make sure they feel like they belong. This is a family. This isn't a company that creates products to destroy countries. We're about belonging. Okay. This icebreaker. While it's important to educate yourselves and split implicit bias, how they can support racism across the globe is vital and agent to make a difference in our workplace and communities. Let's go around the group and discuss questions. What actionable steps can you take to be anti-racist? Deeper discussion. Do you feel equipped to become part of the solution? If not, will you commit to learning more and using some of the resources that follow? I've never met a racist in my life. Actually, no, I don't know. I met a guy on the train. It was a black dude on the train and started talking about Polish people and Jews for about 2 hours in Chicago. And I was on the way to Midway. And I'm like, this is so weird. This is like the most racist rant I've ever heard in my life. But I'm scared of you and I'm going to sit down because he was a huge dude. He was like 6'7". And he looked crazy. And for those of you that would say, hey, don't say that, you should ride the train at 2 a.m. to Midway. Oh, you won't? You'll take an Uber because you're rich? That's right. You don't know what it's like. Next one. How can we, as a group, support everyone else as they learn about more anti-racism? What changes in our organization make within 1 month of the support of anti-racism? What questions do you still have about racism? How about you define that word for me? Reflect on yourself, blah, blah, blah. And we'll go through the equity video. Show the video. Oh my God. Can't watch it. But this is coming to, and here's a little pledge. As if that's not freaking weird. I pledge, check my biases to speak up for others and show up for all. I will check my own biases and make a meaningful action to understand and mitigate them. I will initiate meaningful, complex, and sometimes difficult conversations with my friends and colleagues. I will ask myself, do my actions and words reflect the value of inclusion? I will move more outside my comfort zone and learn the experiences. Okay, this is all stuff that you're just like, yeah, I agree with that and all that stuff. But then they go on the intersectionality, pillars, educate, address, listen, amplify, speak up, and respect. Developing intersectional allyship in the workplace. Raytheon, identify your privilege. Using your everyday privilege. Privilege is often ignorable unless you don't have it.
Well, if you look like me, you have it, okay?
As an award-winning psychologist and professor at New York University's STEM School of Business, Dolly Chug writes, in America, if you are white or Christian or able-bodied or straight or English-speaking, these particular identities are easy to forget. This is called ordinary privilege because these identities and traits easily blend with people and norms around us. So if you're me, if you're Christian, you're white, you're straight, and you're able-bodied, aka huge guns, you're privileged. The question for allies is this. How can you use your privilege to help others? How can you have your white savior complex? I have been given everything my whole life. I haven't worked for anything. People just give me stuff. I've never applied for a job. People just gave me jobs. So what do I do to help? First, identify your privilege. I was in a meeting not too long ago, and everyone was walking around. This white guy goes, I just want everyone to know that I do have white privilege. And I started laughing. And I had to cover my face because I thought, what are you talking about? Why are we talking about this right now? And he's like, yeah, I just want you to know that. And then he looked at me like, it's your turn. I was like, no, I'm not going to say that. You don't know anything about me. You've never asked me a question. And you're just assuming because of my skin color, aka this is racism, that I have this privilege. I've done the privilege walk or whatever, stuff like that. I'm at the very top with everyone else who has a different skin color than me. I'm not like the other rich kids in the back who didn't have to take a single step. I've done that walk. But they look at me and my situation as an anomaly. Why weren't you as privileged as everyone back there? Because we all live different lives. First, consider those aspects of your identity that you think about the least, be it your gender or ethnicity or sexual orientation. Once you pinpoint your ordinary privileges, you can better utilize them to help others who don't share the same ones. I do have this privilege, and I assume a lot of people do. I have an American privilege. We live in the greatest country on earth that I can do whatever I want and dream to be whatever I want. And it's so great. Immigrants from across the globe walk in dangerous deserts with their family members, putting them in jeopardy of their health and possibly dying through, cartels and paying people off like that they will come here to try to make a life for themselves because this place is so racist. Learn about others' disadvantages. And I do. This is what happens when you're just a nice person. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm white, you're black. Tell me about your hard life. Oh, you didn't have a hard life? Your dad is LeBron James and you're just giving stuff and you're rich beyond your means and your first car was a Bentley? Oh, sorry, I assumed that based on your race. God, so stupid. Take your freshly open mind and seek to understand others' experiences. You can do this by increasing your awareness in your life and looking beyond the world in general. The internet, news, blogs, and social media is a great place to start. I'm just going to type in POC-owned news sources. Speak up. Just as the luxury of ignored microaggressions. Everything is seen as racist in today's world. You can't just be an asshole or say a rude comment or having a bad day and you say something dumb. It's automatically based on skin color. That's racism. Step aside, and that's my favorite part. Recognizing your privilege means recognizing when other voices are more important than your own. That's right. You don't have a voice in this. You're a white male. You don't have a voice in this argument. So shut your mouth and listen. Be sure to amplify others instead of attempting to speak for them. I would never speak for someone else. I would never do that. Oh, wait, I do that all the time. Because everyone does that. But I would never look at someone and say, let me tell you something about your life. But, let's flip it on them. You're assuming something based on other people's skin color. You're assuming they have a terrible, hard life and that they didn't have anyone speaking up for them and their ideas were stolen. All these white people are just in control of their lives their whole time. They've been a victim of everything. You're assuming something of someone. So why can't I? I would never do that anyways. I never assume anything of anyone because why would you do that? Why would you? You sometimes assume things based on how people look and because of how they're acting because it's part of life. I mean, there's always that joke. It's like if I was walking down the street, it's 2 a.m. and a bunch of 90-year-old black dudes were walking down the street, I wouldn't be freaked out. They're using their canes, they're barely walking down. But if I see some people that look like gangbangers walking down the street, and I'm by myself, and it's 2 a.m., and they're eyeballing me, well, I've lived on the streets. I've been mugged. I've been jumped. I've been beat up. So I can feel those same emotions happen. And as these white rich liberals who have never been mugged, never been beat up, never been a victim of a hate crime or a race. Mexicans have jumped me. I've had things stolen from me by knife point. When I have a similar situation, I tend to walk the other way. Oh my God, don't do that. That's so crazy. These rich people have never experienced hardships, and that's why they create this stuff, because they feel bad about the life they've lived. But if you don't think that this kind of training isn't coming to your office, you got another thing coming. This stuff takes away from progression, growing, culturally growing and unifying together. It takes away from seeing people as individuals, as much as they try to say at the beginning of this article, saying that, no, you need to not equate, if one black guy acts this way, it doesn't mean every black guy acts this way. And you're like, yeah, duh. But it's just constant lies and manipulation in order for you to accept the Marxism, accept that you are the oppressor and then there's the oppressed, and they can create this narrative. And once they have you at that, then they can continue saying things like, we need to get rid of capitalism because of this, we need to get rid of this, we need to get rid of the nuclear families, we need to stop, land. If you're in a company and you're in a company and you're in Kansas and it's just only white people are in that whole city, if you're in a company and there are only white people are working at the company, it's all of a sudden racism, because it's not that, not a single black person lives here. It's the fact that your company doesn't have any black people. That just automatically makes you racist, as opposed to, or you work at a coffee shop and only white people apply to that coffee shop, and you're like, we gotta find us a black dude and a Hispanic and an Asian. We need to fill this place to make it look more diverse. I know that their population in this city is 0.005, but we gotta find that person. That sounds way more racist, as opposed to just, I have a company and whoever applies, and I interview you and you have a good reputation, you have good sources, your recommendations I called, they had great recommendations, and I hired you because you seem like an awesome person to work with and you're going to bring a lot to this company. And you're supposed to just look at somebody and say, well, you've been disadvantaged your whole life. I know you have a criminal record. I know you have all these things going against you. And also you show up to your job interview late, and you also aren't dressed nice. You actually smell pretty bad. You need to just hire that person because you don't want to be seen as racist. That sounds way more racist to me. I don't know your thoughts below. Let me know your thoughts below. The CRT is getting out of control and it's getting more aggressive, and it's just pure racism. But it started out as an academic thing, yes, and being pushed everywhere, but now it's everywhere. IbramX Kendi is making, and all these people, like 1619 Project, are making more money than they've ever made in their life, and they're happy about it. Hey, we'll do more racist training. This is great. Pray for us. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you on the next episode of The Derek O'Shea Show.